So why don't we talk about some advice for like young people?
Sure.
So if someone is like 18 years old and they're considering a cybersecurity career, what would be your recommendations to that person? Like, is it still worth getting a degree, for example, certifications? What are your recommendations around that?
Well, first things first, I would say that make sure you're interested in cybersecurity for the right reasons. And that is, you're interested in understanding, like you're interested in the tech. You have a curiosity and passion about it. You're not just chasing it for a payday and things like that. So having genuine interest and passion is really important, because when it comes to troubleshooting an extremely difficult problem, if you actually are curious and about learning how something works, you'll overcome that challenge. But if you're just doing it because you think it will, is a secure job, or it'll be a good payday or something like that, you'll give up, And so I think make sure you're doing it for the right reasons in terms of general interest and passion first. Second thing I would do is make sure you stay up to date with what's actually happening in the world. Like, what are the threat actors that exist, like, Lazarus Group, North Korea, that sort of stuff. Staying up to date with different types of threat actors in the world, whether that's state-sponsored like APTs or organized criminal gangs like ransomware gangs. Look at the techniques that they use to actually compromise an organization. So look at like the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Compare that to like a blog post or research post of how an attacker has compromised an organization, and see if you can follow along the steps in that attack framework. I think it's really important. I mean, having an understanding of the actual techniques that a threat actor uses is almost critical, I would say. Absolutely. In terms of after you kind of done the baseline in terms of things, in terms of education, I think it depends on the person what they would like to do. I think, do you need a degree to get into this industry? Absolutely not. It's not a requirement at all. It doesn't really mean anything, to be honest. We've just hired 3 people in our team. One of them has a bachelor's degree, one of them has done an online course, and one of them has had, 2 years in accounting. And that's, completely different walks of life, and they've all come into the same role. I would say that it really comes down to the person and their attitude. Do you have the self-discipline to actually, wake up, every single day on time, plan your own schedule, plan your own study schedule, complete certifications, do Hack the Box, do Try Hack Me, do OSCP if you want to be a pen tester, or do some Azure or AWS certs and things like that. Do you have the motivation and actually the self-discipline to do that for an extended period of time, like 1 to 2 years? But if you don't feel like you have that self-discipline, or that you need more of a mentor, like a teacher, then yeah, absolutely go to university or go to TAFE, or do some online course or something like that. I think it comes down to the person. I think if you're starting out and you have absolutely no experience or no understanding of security at all, it can be quite overwhelming. So maybe doing a boot camp at the very beginning might be a good idea, or an online course, or even just looking at Cybery and YouTube videos and things like that, and then from there, finding a few more things to look at. I'm really fond of the Cyber Mentors online trading. It's really well priced, less than $25 for courses. They always have discounts, sometimes all the way down to $1. So I feel like that's a really good start for people. Yeah.
Yeah, so mainly just having that persistence, I guess, to actually do it over a long period of time. I think that's the benefit of a degree, because you're going to university, you have to go, right?
Yeah.
you have to do the thing for 3 years. But if you're on your own, then perhaps it's quite hard to be that persistent with your self-study and that kind of thing. But yeah, I can totally see how people who are working in a completely different industry, they can do self-study in their own time, and then that'll be equivalent to
Absolutely.
a degree, for example.
Yeah, if you're already a mature age and in your late 20s, early 30s, and you're in another industry, I would say that quitting your job and then going and studying full-time at university for 3 years, one, probably isn't an option financially, but two, it's not going to be the best decision. At that point, if you're at that place, I would absolutely just self-study. It'll involve staying up late night at 1 o'clock in the morning studying, and then going to work at 7 and having limited hours of sleep. Your schedule will get crammed, but I think that's a sacrifice you have to be willing to evaluate about, I'm making this sacrifice for the outcome of getting a new role in an industry that I'm more passionate and care about. That's probably much better than, say, you know, dropping $50,000 on a cybersecurity degree. But again, it's really up to people and their own temperament. If you find that at that age you do that balance of self study, late nights and things like that for like say 6 months, and you're not really getting anywhere, then sure, enroll in a graduate certificate or a bachelor's degree or something like that. It's really a trial and error. I would recommend that people try the self study route first, see how they go, and then pivot from there.
Yeah. So that consistent effort, I actually find you don't actually have to spend that many hours on study, like less than a lot of people think that they need to.
Yeah.
Like for me, when I was studying to get into pen testing and now with smart contract auditing stuff, I was only doing like maybe 2 hours a day on that, maybe for like 6 months or 9 months or something like that. Not that many hours. And it's that consistent build up and that spaced repetition kind of process.
Routine, right?
Yeah. That kind of you just build up your knowledge over time. But for the degrees, you do get some stuff, I guess, like more networking opportunities, like you mentioned earlier, which you don't really get. Like if you're just in your own basement studying, like for 2 years and nobody knows who you are, then you're not going to go anywhere either, right?
That's true. Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity, to get involved with like the Computer Science Association at the university, or to go to career fairs and things like that, or have guest lecturers come to the university and do talks. We do a lot of guest lectures at our company with a lot of the universities and things like that. So, I mean, for me, I didn't actually even go to them. I did a lot of my classes online when I actually studied. But looking at students now and what they have available to them, it is really unique and quite valuable. I mean, for me personally, like at my stage of my career now, I've thought, do I want to do a master's degree? And really, it's going to add no value. It's going to cost me $50,000. I'm better off just spending, $500 on an Azure cert or something like that. You know what I mean? In terms of development. But yeah, it really depends on the stage of life that you're at.
Yeah. Would you say the degree was actually useful just for yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so I studied counterterrorism, right? So I learned a bunch of stuff that I'm probably never going to apply in my role. But I was really interested in like national security and things like that. And I think that interest has followed along into my role now. So I do a lot of work with defense and then like state police and federal government and things like that. I think that there was a few things that I learned about risk management in my course which were relevant for security, which I didn't learn in the cybersecurity part. But we were learning things about like physical security controls at a prison and like how CCTV cameras work and how to like break into a building using a HVAC system, like going to the aircon and stuff like that. Like that stuff I'm never going to use in security. You know what I mean? But it was really cool. So I mean, at the end of the day, I would say, I could probably use 20% of what I studied in my role, but I didn't actually study cybersecurity full. But I think it was just teaching me how to learn, teaching me about how to research, how to write things, how to articulate my thoughts, how to articulate a message and things like that. Because in security, a lot of what you do is, from an advisory perspective, is influencing people to make changes to their organization, to their technical environment. Trying to get people to make changes in the way that you word a recommendation and things like that can be really important.
Yeah, because like cybersecurity degrees, they're relatively new, right? They seem to have just popped up over the past 5 years, like out of nowhere. Every university seems to offer them. I'm just wondering, are they actually like good? Because like for pen testing, like we have a lot of pen testers that just make fun of what they teach in the degrees and that kind of stuff. And most people who like actually landed a role, they did a lot of self-learning, like with the OSCP and just the learning in their own time. So yeah, I'm wondering, like, should people do some research on the university, like whether the degree is actually good or not?
100%. And it comes down to like the longevity of the course. Like there's 4 key universities in our city, and 2 of them have had courses for 5 to 10 years. One of them had a course for less than a year, and one's had for 2 years. And the one that's had for less than 2 years and 0 years, those courses are awful. They're not. I would not be enrolling in those universities. Whereas the other 2 have a really good name for themselves. I think it comes down to, like the types of lecturers, research the course, look at the course, look at the units, look at the assignments that are linked to the units. Like a lot of universities have an online handbook. You can search the unit name. You can actually check, what are the assignments, what are the key topics, what are the learning objectives. Because the title of the degree might sound cool, but if you look at a cybersecurity course and the whole thing is just all software engineering units, that might not be your thing. Whereas if you look at another course, it might be all network security units. That might be more your thing. So looking for the combination of that is really important.
And another factor to think about is the cost of the degree. Like I did my degree ages ago, and the costs were much lower then, and now it's like 50K. Is that 50K for a year or 50K for the whole degree?
No, it depends if you're a citizen of Australia or you're not. Because there's, for me, my course was actually 24,000, but that's because I did counterterrorism with a major in cybersecurity. But I think a cybersecurity degree is like $40,000 to $50,000
for the whole
3 years bachelor's degree course. But if you're an international student, you might be paying that per year, so it's about $150,000 or
that's just crazy price.
Yeah, it's a shitload of money. I honestly feel quite bad for international students, to be honest, because they come here, they spend $150,000, $100,000 on their degree, and they can't get a cybersecurity job because they don't have a visa. They only have a temporary student visa. And a lot of work, particularly in cybersecurity consulting, we work for federal government. You have to have either PR, permanent residency, or be a citizen to actually do the work. So we don't hire entry-level people that don't have those working rights. And so a lot of people just end up going and doing Uber driving and Uber Eats and all that sort of stuff. And it's just a waste of like talent and skills, But at the end of the day, that's just the visa process. So
yeah, like I don't know, like I just can't really justify that cost in my mind.
Oh, no.
Like if I was starting again, if I was 18 or something,
God, no.
I don't think I would go to university, to be honest. Like if you did, for example, if you want to get into pen testing, you did the OICP, maybe you can get OICP plus a couple of other certifications. You would be like more hands-on and have more practical skills than someone that went through a course that was just mainly doing like theoretical kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It depends on the university. Some universities are more theoretical than others. I know that most of the pen testers in our company, they all went to one particular university and did computer science, actually not cybersecurity. Because obviously, in cybersecurity, as a pen tester, having really strong programming skills, a strong understanding of databases, things like that, can be really important for your role. But yeah, I'd say like if I was to go back and do it again now, I don't think I would. Or for me, I'm glad I did my course. But if you're looking at it from a cost perspective purely, and you do feel like you have self-discipline to study your own way, there's no point going to university. Yeah, it's a waste of money. Yeah.
And you're saying that wouldn't necessarily hurt them when they they'll give you a CV, you see they haven't gone to university, they've done like 2 years of self-study. That wouldn't necessarily hurt them in the application process.
No, at least not for our company, no. There will definitely be some businesses that are still in the old way, and it's like you don't have a degree, you can't even get a walk into the door for an interview, you know what I mean? Like finance, you will not be getting into a lot in finance unless you have a Bachelor of Commerce or a Bachelor of Finance or whatever. But for security, I think we're a bit more progressive in that way. I think it's because at the end of the day, there's so many roles that need to be filled. There's so much work that needs to be done. We can't put blanket rules on who can have a job and who can't. And at the end of the day, a lot of it is about applying yourself and proving your capability. And at the end of the day, yeah, the way that I like to compare cybersecurity is like to art, You can go and do, an arts degree, but if your painting looks like shit, you're not going to get a job. You can not go to arts school, but you can make a really nice painting and you can sell it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the same approach. I know plenty of people that I studied with still can't get jobs because they just never really actually applied themselves or never really learned anything from their course or didn't really put in the effort for their assignments and things like that. Whereas I know people that, there's even a person in our company over East who is 19 and works in cybersecurity. You know what I mean? Finished high school, did a year of self-study, got a job. So it really is up to the person. I think the most important thing to learn about this is about your own determination. You can do anything that you put your mind to. We're all humans. All the challenges that we've developed when it comes to security, we can overcome it. You know what I mean? You just got to apply yourself, and you've got to be willing to have dedication, commitment, and self-discipline, and you can do anything.
Yeah, 100%. Like the degree is just sort of there to help you stay consistent, and there's a huge difference between people who actually apply themselves or they just put the minimum effort and they just cram for the exam and then just pass it and then get a degree. That's like a massive gap there.
100%.
Yeah, which I guess why that kind of devalues degrees a bit almost, because you see someone with a degree, you can't really tell if they actually like are one of those legit people who studied quite hard for their degree, or is it just like somebody who did the minimum and just got a pass? Because it's super easy to get a degree if you do the minimum.
Yeah, honestly, the way that I see it, it's a kind of a thing of the past. I mean, a lot of young people, when they finish high school, their parents say, you've got to go to university. You've got to do something. You've got to go do a course, things like that. And so a lot of people just go to university because their parents tell them to. You know what I mean? I definitely think that my family influenced that on me. They didn't say you had to do it, but it was still my choice. But it definitely had an involvement in my decision making. And so, because back then, 20 years ago, it really did set you apart from others. But now it's it's like candy. Everyone's got it. You know what I mean? Like, it's really not that special. I don't even think about university at all anymore. It doesn't help me in my role at the moment. That's for sure.
Yeah.